All right,
Recording.
well, here we are. So,
Here we are.
Greg Nikolettos, welcome to the Tourist of Molecules podcast.
Much appreciated.
It's a pleasure. I hope to have you on more often than this. But for anyone that doesn't know you off the bat, I just want to introduce you as, I guess, a heavyweight, a mastermind of the industry that was behind BPM Labs, one of the best Aussie brands, I think, probably ever. And anyone that knows the brand will probably agree in terms of the formulas, how cutting edge it was, how up to date it always seemed to be. Often people would probably mistake it for a US brand and not really realize it's actually Aussie based. And, we'll talk a bit about your new project as well. But I guess just from your own side, how would you describe yourself for anyone that doesn't know about the great Greg Nikolettos at this point in time?
Well, I'll get it straight out of the bat. I do have bipolar.
Right.
So
Hey.
that basically, I need less sleep. I'm more creative. But I have my months where I spend too much money as well. So,
Yep. Oh, hey, maybe I've got the same
it's one
thing.
of those things. It's contained, right? But it's always lurks in the background. Like my kids go, "Dad, you're going Kanye West on us. So slow down." Do you know what I mean?
Got it. And look, I think it's a lot better to be aware of these different things with our neurology these days,
100%.
so you can manage that and channel it sometimes. So, I'm sure there's plenty of people out there that are too, that don't know about it, especially the creative ones. And I suppose you've done a fair bit in the industry. Like, so BPM Labs was one of the huge things you did, but you had a distribution company, you've had stores, you've been a big supplement player, I guess you would say. Tell us a bit about some of that. So you had a store once upon a time as well, retail store?
No, what actually happened was I wanted to be a bodybuilder, right? But
Roger.
I didn't have the genetics at the end of the day, right? Which is like 99% of us. We just got to admit it.
Facts.
So what happened was I got in contact with a guy called Arthur Alrea who wrote Building the Perfect Beast.
Right.
And he had some crazy protocols of only 30 days on, 30 days off. And it tweaked my interest. So anyway, so I did those protocols, put on some size, and he mentioned in his newsletter that he was releasing a supplement brand called Hazardous Materials. So
I think I remember that one. That's how we used to name all our brands back then, right? That was
I might actually use
brands
that
still
again.
do that.
I might use that again, but that's when the TGA goes Hazardous Materials.
Yeah,
and
that
then knock
sounds
on your
safe.
door.
Yeah.
I contacted him and I said, listen, if you're releasing a supplement line, right? I said, can I be your Australian distributor? So cut a long story short, he said yes, right? And we formed like a mini alliance.
Yep.
And I didn't have a shop, but what I did was that was the time of Hyperdrive, Poison, all the OG, amins basically, which were related to the amphetamine family, but they're not amphetamine. Do you know what I mean? But the TGA want to classify them as amphetamines, right?
Yep.
So I would do from the boot of my car, I would just go around to shops, knock on the door and say, listen, here's 5 samples. And the next day I get a call saying, can we stock this product? That was when products actually did work. That was the difference. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I went along the mantra of wanting to distribute. I was so tired of, I was that guy that used to buy Joe Weider's amino acids. I was that guy that used to buy Musashi Red and Musashi, and nothing would happen. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I remember
not much has changed there. No hate, Musashi. You guys are doing great, and more on that later. But I don't hate brands that have done what they need to do to penetrate the mass market, because often that helps as a gateway to people understanding supplements and then understanding 100%. Quality. And I'm sure their protein's fine and their basic stuff. But anyway, back to you.
Don't get me started on protein.
Yeah. Well, that's right. That's a whole other. Sourcing's a big thing with protein, and we could go down a big rabbit hole on that too. And there's definitely some brands out there putting up numbers that don't make sense. But mostly kind of smaller ones that are sort of just I think some of the bigger ones, depending on which one you're talking about, are fairly accurate and decent. But anyway, sorry, back to you, Greg, because I'm enjoying this.
What I did, I started the company with the mantra of supplements that work, right? Which everyone is using now, right? And I
True.
didn't
Became a hashtag.
I didn't basically take on a brand until I had tested it, my mates had tested it, we'd gone through the formulas and everything like that. So I try to bring like a Robin Hood sort of a scenario to the industry where I thought, you know, I'm taking from the people that really don't care. I was just an end user who ended up becoming a formulator.
Yep.
And a formulator ended up becoming a distribution point. Do you know what I mean? So it wasn't like this was all planned.
Yeah.
I just started with good intentions.
Yep.
To make sure that my mates and myself, especially, right,
Yeah.
was on the best supplements.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think sometimes that's the best person for the job. You know, I think about myself in that regard a little bit, dare I say, where there would be some brand owners and, you know, people that are part of big conglomerates that probably don't even use supplements or certainly aren't supplement nerds. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And may not even use their own supply. And who would you really want behind your supplement? Someone that's an absolute fanatic that is using all this stuff, that is absolutely in there, you know.
That's exactly. And that's where I say Jesus only had 12 apostles, and look what one of them was a bad apostle, obviously, but he only had 11, and look what he achieved. So
exactly,
I'd much rather have a store that backs me 100% at the end of the day than being in a major chain. Where you are cross-sold against and diluted. Do you know what I mean? I'd much rather have. It's just less of a headache. Business is easy to conduct. Quite often, you're helping the lower end guy who wants to get to the top, and I was that guy once. And just put a bit of ethics and morals into this industry, because I don't. It's not really a fitness industry. I heard it from someone else. He goes, I call it the fraudulent industry.
Yeah, and you know, sometimes we certainly don't help ourselves as an industry with that reputation. But I often think we are the most, you know, on the other hand to that, right? We are the most,
the other hand,
right? We're the most scrutinized and tested in some ways, right? Like we don't really know what's in our cereal. Half the time you don't know what's in your toothpaste. It's not third party tested. They might test it once and never again. I mean, there's no regulators going to these places and you know, checking a batch of cereal, whatever the example is. You think about a lot of other industries. We are heavily regulated. It doesn't mean there isn't cowboys, and it doesn't mean there hasn't been a lot that have definitely given us the attention that we unfortunately deserved. But it does also, when you think about it that way, we are quite scrutinized, and we always will be now because of, you know, just where we've come from. But yeah, look, there's cowboys. There still is, but I think the more chance of them being outed in this industry than probably any other at the moment. At some point in time,
like I've been in the information technology sector. I've been in the auto sector. This is, if you want to have problems in your life, start a distribution company. It's as simple as that. All of a sudden, you got the TGA, you got food standards, you got you got
Department of Agriculture and Water, and
I remember when they visited me. Customs. I thought, you know, I've got a bonsai tree, but that's about it.
Right. So yeah, because I mean, look, a lot of sports supplements are really in their jurisdiction primarily, because obviously we try to stay out of the therapeutic good bucket, because it's very difficult to be in that bucket for, you know, complex reasons, but essentially very cost prohibitive. And so we often fall under their jurisdiction as well. And every country is different too, right? Like Australia is pretty tight. I mean, it's pretty tight.
I think Australia's the tightest. Canada's second, and then Germany, because we've exported to various countries, and Canada is almost as difficult or barbaric, whichever term you want to use. You know what I mean?
Canada's right up there, particularly with pre-workouts. You know, Australia, you can definitely make a better pre-workout in Australia right now. That's for sure. Whereas in Canada, but then there's, you know, some other things where it's the other way around a little bit. And I think the UK isn't far behind nowadays. It used to be.
They're not.
Right? Like they just, was the 2 mushrooms now, they class as a novel food. Tongat Ali is a novel food over there, which makes it really hard. Yeah.
Tongat Ali, are you serious?
When they call it a novel food in the UK, that makes it's kind of similar to if the TGA made something a therapeutic only, or prescription only to a degree. It's not quite that bad, but so the hoops you got to jump through to make that cost effective become almost, you know, null and void. And so those things start to, but I mean, that's turkey tail and cordyceps over there. I just saw, I mean, they're two great
As well.
mushrooms used for thousands of years. So that's pretty disappointing to hear. Yeah.
But they know better. That's the
Yeah.
point. They know. Forget about
Absolutely.
West Eastern medicine that goes back thousands of years,
Yeah.
and we haven't had a single overdose on maybe magic mushrooms. No, but you
Yeah.
still don't overdose on those anyway.
No, you come back pretty, you know,
You
usually
just go
better
a bit
person.
weird.
Yeah. Or yeah, you go one way or the other. That's right. So you're right. It is tough, and you do have to learn a lot. And geez, is the learning curve. I mean, I've had a steep learning curve myself. I know you've been through that learning curve as well. And you know, so that's why I guess it's even more impressive that BPM was so big. And I suppose before we move off BPM, if you don't mind, do you think we will ever see it come back, or is it one of those things where it's time to move on to some bigger and better things now?
Well, without throwing my ex under the bus, because we're getting along now, right?
Okay.
I basically, and that's the
great.
best.
And we don't want that. Yeah,
that's the best way to keep it. Do you know what I mean?
I agree. I strongly
so
agree.
what it comes down to, I lost control of BPM Labs to my ex, and then certain decisions were made where I wasn't the voting party in the sense to. So I had a whole heap of emails come through to me going, "Why are you guys releasing a creatine monohydrate?" You know, when it went kind of weird. You remember that time?
Sure.
And we released a glutamine, and we released all these products that didn't have my fingerprint on it. It's because I didn't have control of the company, and some people don't know that. Yeah, and I guess it's good to get it out there, you know. So
yeah,
I wasn't in control.
Yeah.
Somebody else was in control, and to say BPM won't come back, look, never say never. Like Rocky came back 6 times.
Absolutely.
And it's still got a solid user base. Like we still get emailed, or my ex gets emailed anyway, for the test boosters, which we dominated with Testamax, and Estro Block was a phenomenal formula. Everyone caught up with us on Delta Zone because there's only so many ingredients you can use. You know, once you've used, and anyway, that's the point. That they say to me, "Are you going to release a sleep formula?" And realistically, I don't know whether I'm going to bother anymore, because I don't want to get lost in with the labels. The labels determine whether the customer picks it up, and then I don't have a good feeling when I know I can't use phenibut and I can't use certain key ingredients. I don't have a good feeling in me knowing I've taken a customer's money when it's just a subpar product, and there's nothing I can do. But the legislation forces me to operate. I don't want to get arrested or anything like that. And I've had my run-ins with them. And we can discuss that later.
I've heard a pretty wild story.
Actually, I'll touch on the story, right? So
tell us that story. So
I'll tell you the story. So at least that, like, as in everyone, when Greg's spiking his stuff, and what it came down to, there was a compound that we were using that was in the amine family, that was closely related to amphetamine, but wasn't amphetamine. It wasn't in the same family, right?
And a lot of those stimulants were like that back in the day, right?
Absolutely.
DMHA,
Until the TJ came in and classified everything under a blanket.
Right.
One compound was banned. You could then basically communicate with the guys that you're working with, going, "What about this compound?" And it was exciting. It was exciting stuff.
It was innovative. It was an innovative.
It was innovative. Exactly. You could actually move ahead of the curve. And then, cut a long story short, we were selling a lot of poison from ALR, right, which was a time release cyclosome delivery system from high tech that would last about 8 hours, right? And we found out that it was being sold in the rave scene as well in 2-pill bags, right, for $60.
Oh my God. Okay.
So I was selling,
which is probably great value for what you actually get out of it.
and they wouldn't overdose. Do you know what I mean? So I thought it's wow. We've like, so we had police officers on it. We had nurses, shift workers. We were moving 10 to 15,000 units a month without even
no advertising, nothing.
Without even trying, you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden, I remember as distinctly, there was like a barge at the door, and there was just a raid on my premises, and there was at least 20 agents, federal police agents, And they came
God
screaming
damn.
in. Some of them were wearing shirts saying, "Calm down, it's the police," which was really like, it's
Like literally, like joke
you're
shirts.
taking the piss, mate. You're taking the piss. But
Wow.
anyway, they come in. I'm half asleep, right? Charge into the house, and they go, "Where's your glassware, Nicolettos? Where's your glassware?" And I'm half asleep, and I go, "The glasses are over the kitchen cabinet." Do you know what I mean?
Glassware.
And
Jesus
and they
Christ.
go, "We're gonna get you." Anyway, cut a long story short,
So they thought you were cooking up something or
they
something
thought
like
we
that.
were supplying
They
the
thought it was
Ulans or the rebels. They
right.
thought we were supplying the Ulans and the rebels.
They thought they had the
And
Baron. Yeah, yeah.
that's
I
right.
understand.
That's yeah. Says we're supplying a precursor, and the speed that was on the streets at the time was quite good. So they put they. I'll tell you. Cut a long story short. It didn't end up going to trial because Jared Wheat lawyered up for us as well from High Tech
Wow.
and showcased. So that's what it is about building allies. You know what I mean? So it was a case of we were supplying ALR money. ALR was producing at High Tech, and we had good interest with Jared, who's facing his own troubles now.
Yep. That's true. Yeah.
That's another one.
That's
But
another story.
what it came down to was where did they solicit their information from to come after me? Wikipedia. I kid you not. That's where they got their information from. So
Wouldn't be
they
surprised.
shut me down. They shut me down for 6 months. I was looking at 20 years in jail, right? I couldn't sleep at night.
Oh, it's terrible. Yeah, it's awful to go through something like
It's
that.
just terrifying. It was terrifying. Like, as
Yeah.
in, and then I would get certain prompts from them, like, "Oh, we're going to put you away for 20 years. You know, we're looking for a minimum of 10." And it was just absolute bullshit. That's the whole thing. It was just like no due diligence was done on their part.
Yeah.
It was a tri raid. It was my house, the in-laws' house, and the warehouse. So at least 60 to 70 police officers, basically. But the explanations I had to use to my neighbors, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the whole street was just covered in police vehicles, you know?
They really misinterpreted what the situation was, and you know, it becomes
They
kind of
just
like
jumped
bullying.
to the conclusion that this product's too good, it has to be illegal, you know?
Yeah, and often when they sort of get on that, they'll I guess they'll sort of try to convince you into that to see what information they get out. And once all the dust settles and they figure out, okay, you're just importing some pre-workout style supplements and fat burners, and then obviously things start to shift, and you know it goes from there. But yeah, they sort of come in hot, don't they? In these situations.
Oh, they came in hot. And determined as well. The one cop was really nice to me. He was playing good cop, bad cop. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
It's like, I'm not that dumb. I know what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
But he basically he said to me, "Listen, Greg, we've been following you on Instagram, and you're a very interesting person. But you got to realize how deep you are in this." And I'm going like, dude, it's just like the compound is listed on the bottle.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Go. Use your Wikipedia and figure it out. It's not that hard.
No. And I guess at that point they're pretty lost in what all this means. So,
but I did lose 6 months of trade. I did lose 6 months of trade.
Oh, it's still a huge setback either way, right? And obviously, I guess the result was that nothing happened other than that shutdown.
Nothing happened. But what happened from there was I got the reputation in the industry that I was supplying the narc industry, or not the narc industry, but the drug industry. That if the reason why Greg supplements are so good is because you must spike them. So it tarnished my reputation. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's bad. It's not something anyone sort of wants to have stuck, to their name. That's for sure. Look, to be fair, because I know what it's like once the dust has settled as well, and been in a similar situation. You can look back and understand. Look, these people are trying to do their job, et cetera, et cetera. But you do wish that they would just have more knowledge of some of this stuff to make the right sort of moves. But often I guess they go on a hunch, and once they're that committed, they're pretty determined for that to turn out to be true and correct. And when it doesn't, obviously that's hard on them too. It's not like you get an apology, or you don't really get much catharsis out of it. But I guess it's just more for the listeners that I say this, to help them understand that this is sometimes how it goes when you're trying to push the envelope and make some great products, or bring in some really cool stuff that the market demands. And back then, particularly, it was really hard to know how to navigate that smoothly because everything was unprecedented. A lot of it, it wasn't a set precedent for a lot of these things, and I think even the enforcement side were confused, and I think that's part of the problem. Before we move on from the TJ and this sort of scary stuff, I think it's just a lot easier if they can just present what they do want, as opposed to just really crack down on what they don't want, or be really clear about what they don't want. And they're getting a bit better at that, but sometimes it's as confusing for people that want to comply as it is for the people that are trying to.
This is where I get angry, right? The Personal Importation Act allows you to order 3 months of illegal supplements, right, into this country. Into this country, right? So why punish the distributor, the manufacturer, the shops, right? When the guy can just go offshore,
you're keeping you're keeping the demand for it alive.
Why punish the Australian fucking economy, right? When I'm trying to put food on the table for my kids, why can't you basically just think a bit before you draw legislation? Just because, like, methylene blue is now hot, just because methylene blue works, right? Don't be reactive about it and come like the TGA's got a lot on their hands at the end of the day. Like, they don't want someone to come out against them because, look, I'm not the guy, but not to say that I won't be the guy ever. Who knows, right? Times change. But what I'm saying is they lost a lot of clout with the vaccine, right? The vaccine was supposedly safe and effective to use on how many days testing? Like 3 days testing?
Yeah.
And what it comes down to, I just want peace. I just want where I can, I'll do my due diligence, right? I won't release poisons into the market. I won't basically push the barriers. But you have a look at where the pre-workout market has gone now. I like 200 milligrams of caffeine with Synergist, right? That's what I like. I think 200 milligrams is the perfect amount.
It's a really nice
you can dial it up. You can dial it up to 300, 350 if you want. But now we're at 500 milligrams because people have got less compounds to work with. And what do? And we get given the dog ingredient English walnut, which is the poor man's DMHA. So why do I have to not cut corners, but why do I have to make a product not meet my standards when the USA, right, basically allows DMHA, and then you can still order it from the Personal Importation Act, right? So who's winning? I'll tell you who's winning is fucking iHerb. That's
absolutely
winning.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. I mean, the part of this that especially made no sense when the initial interpretation of the capsule legislation was left to into sort of ooga booga land where everyone thought they had to remove everything, whereas it now seems to turn out, and again, this is where the legal world gets really squirrely because it's like, as far as we can tell, it's up to interpretation, but it looks like as long as there's no therapeutic claims, no banned ingredients with WADA, anything that they see as prescription, etc., and you are careful how you present it, you can still do a lot of things in capsule. But for that period, all that money just goes offshore. So it doesn't help the consumer.
I'll tell you what happened to us, right? We geared up and we produced Testamax and Estroblock in powder, which tasted like shit.
Yep, a lot of people did.
We produced over 5,000 units, and guess what? I've still got it because people couldn't swallow the taste. It's as simple as that.
And they just go to iHerb, and all that money goes offshore. That's right. All the tax money goes offshore. No one's making money now, including them.
Look what's happening in the vape world, basically, where they've driven cigarettes up to $65, and
everyone's vaping.
And I'm vaping, and it's just like people find a way around. It's just like just because you legislate something doesn't mean, like last time I checked, I think cocaine and meth and heroin was still available on the black market.
Well, that's the thing. They don't end up protecting people when they go about it these certain ways. It'd be better to regulate it well, to have a good relationship with the supplement industry, and keep that money in Australia.
I'm a phone call away, basically. I extend my hand out to the TGA and I say there is a better way, because the overreach into our industry all the time is frustrating, but it doesn't paint them in a good light. That's the point. It paints them as these boogeymen, right, that are working for big pharma.
Hide from them instead. That's right. Instead of having a dialogue.
Why don't we all sit down and have a dialogue,
Yeah, and we need like a board or a committee and that interacts with them, and we just need a better setup, and hopefully we'll get there one day, Greg. But certainly, It's certainly a big subject, and I think it just comes down to that piece that you're talking about, which is that the consumers still get stuff or worse stuff, sadly, and this doesn't get controlled or restricted very heavily. And players that are trying to play ball get punished the worst, get punished the hardest. And and that's okay. Sometimes that needs to happen. I get it. But if we learn our lesson and we're trying to be on board, let's work as a team. And that would be my vision for the future. And
100%.
hopefully that's something that they also see. But right now they're so scary that I think a lot of people just are afraid to pick up the phone and talk to them. And
they're just people at the end of the day. I've gone head to head with them many times. And when you're right, you fight. When you're wrong, you fold the hand. Do you know what I mean? So it's not like I'm a troublemaker or anything like that. But I will protect what is rightfully mine, which is formulated sports supplements, and I will play within those guidelines, and I will defend my ground because that is legal law.
And we want to do a good job of helping people live longer, live healthier.
I know.
And,
is it that bad?
Better lives.
Like I can go buy Kellogg's Crunchy cornflakes or whatever they are, and God knows what's in them, right? We still don't really know.
Don't know.
But if I promote a longevity supplement, I can't say anything.
Yeah. And on that subject, which is an interesting time for me to introduce it, but I guess people probably just wanted to know a bit of that background. And I'm sure a lot of people want to have these conversations and are afraid to be honest. So I'm glad we could touch on some of it.
Let's move on.
Yeah. But like what I want to show is in that same sort of vein of stuff that's going to help people live longer and healthier, you've developed some amazing products that aren't to market just yet, as I understand, but we've got liposomal technology here with an NMN. So NMN is very popular at the moment. This is the kind of NAD booster that most people know and are using. And as I understand, NMN is a little bit different to some of the others in that it doesn't get into the cell, but it helps you make more NMN by providing what your body needs to produce it. So it's a precursor. And then nicotinamide riboside or NR. And that's really the God compound.
Right. If you're not using liposomal technology. If you're using liposomal technology, all bets are off because the bioavailability increases. So NMN becomes as powerful as NR. The weakest one in the link, and this is as strategic or evil as I get, NAD is still better than injectable, right? So if you wanted to use NAD and you're serious about that, use mine, obviously. I've got years to crawl back.
Absolutely. It takes years off your life, huh? You got 1 or 2 lives left.
Well, I am 74, so I'm doing okay.
Righto. Yeah, you're looking great, man. So you do call this the Immortal Stack, by the way. The
Immortal Stack's coming out. The Immortal Stack's coming out with because people don't like swallowing tablets, and like you should see what my bench looks like, but that's another story.
Oh yeah, join the club, huh? Yeah.
Look at the back there.
Well, that's nothing. Then there's the kitchen downstairs and the kitchen cupboard.
I know.
The center table.
Somebody's got to sample the test products.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. I don't think there's a herb I haven't had, and if there is, I want to have it. I want to try it. So,
well, I'll send you an email after this under non-disclosure.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good.
So anyway, to cut a long story short, Immortal will be an all-in-one product that has also got GHKCU at 2.5 milligrams.
Wow.
And there's a lot of, and because it's liposomal, that means no injections. The average woman wants good hair, good skin, good nails, but really doesn't want to inject. So GHKCU in oral form, the bioavailability is shocking, right?
Yeah.
It's terrible.
I have heard this. You need it to be liposomal. Shocking. Right.
And another thing as well, which I thought you had to actually cycle it, but I did some research on that myself for GHKCU. It doesn't need to be recycled. It's kind of like recycling something that doesn't need to be recycled. My brain.
Think of a good analogy, guys, if you're listening. Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, like creatine or any of those, right?
Yeah, just doesn't need. It's like ATP for the muscles.
Out for a few weeks, and receptor sensitivity doesn't seem to be a factor. Yeah.
So there's no receptor downgrade. So we have got NMN. So anyway, it's a fully stacked longevity cycle. It's aimed. We want to enter into the those salons that promote Botox, everything
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Basically enter into that market as well and create different vertical markets.
Yep.
Because look, longevity is where it's at. People
Yep.
want to grow. I know I'm
Yes.
going to die. I've got no
Yep.
problem with dying, but I don't want to be like my
Yeah.
ex-in-laws who have got sarcopenia
Yeah.
and they're going to live another 20 years, right?
Yeah.
But it's
But not well.
what's your
Yeah.
quality of life? You know
That's
what I
right.
mean?
It's the health span thing. I like that term that some of these
I
sort of
like that
biohacking
too,
terms.
Lloyd.
Yeah, health span as opposed to just lifespan. And I think this is great. Like this is great for everybody, including governments. You know, if we can
100%.
keep
They
living
can
longer,
collect revenue for more years.
very good for society. You know, and they can collect and less strain on hospitals and Medicare and so on. Like again, we've got to make sure we do the right thing by ourselves going forward as well. In that we do really target that, and I'd urge all brands to think about that in the back of the mind, because if we do help society with these products, which should be everyone's guiding light, really, then it's going to be better for everybody, including our industry and the way it gets regulated. So I think these are the kind of products that really fall into that category, Greg. So I'm really excited that you went this way, by the way. I think this is the perfect place for the mad scientist, which, by the way, is his alias, if anyone doesn't know it already. To be heading. And I do agree, those salons, which are also regulated by the same governing bodies we are, they're the right sort of avenue to be looking down, because that's where a lot of women particularly will meet some of these products and reap some of those benefits that are really significant. I mean, the energy I'm getting from this
phenomenal, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very noticeable. I mean, I use NMN a lot. I was already using NMN a lot, and I was very happy with the Switch NMN. I thought that's a good Aussie NMN. It was solid for me. It wasn't one of those, I like that brand. I like what Greg does.
I like what Greg does as well. He's a good bloke.
Yes.
He sells beetroot juice. I want to sell GC1 Sabetarome. So we're different. You know what I mean?
Of course. And, he's held a space that, I mean, I was already heading in some of those directions, and then we had to reset. We had a big reset. Yeah. But he's held some space for the industry, and he's always tried to do it the right way. And I really understand someone like Greg a lot better now, understanding what it takes to try to do this the right way, to try to hold your ground and to try to interact. I think he has a good dialogue with the right bodies as well, and he doesn't shy away from having that dialogue. And he's tried to be a good voice as much as he can for the industry. So kudos to him, and it was a great NMN, but this liposomal technology just turns it up to another level.
It does, because bioavailability of NMN is 20 to 40% max, right? So if you're taking 500 megs, you're going to walk away with 100 to 200 at best, right?
Yep.
With mine, 500 megs, you're taking 90 to 95%, so you're getting the full 500.
Yep.
So
that's
we're
huge,
not pitched. We might seem expensive by a small margin, but if you're getting 500% more dose for $10 more, well.
Oh, absolutely.
If you don't want to buy my stuff, I can't help you then.
No, and I think that's the right place to position yourself in the market anyway. If you've got a better product, you have to maintain margin so that you can exist and you can continue to service the consumer with this great product. But also it helps them understand what they're getting. I think a lot of consumers, myself included, if something's too cheap, I'll just be suspicious, man, and I won't be thanking. You'll never assume that that's because the manufacturer and the brand owner are all taking a bit less money. That's not the assumption you're going to make.
It's never that.
It's because it's usually never that. Whereas some like you would be tempted, but I think it's right to do it at the price point you need to do it at. And if it's a better delivery system and it costs more to make, then that's fine. Consumers understand this.
Where we're at, Lloyd, is we have to educate the market about liposomal. And because I've been in the liposomal game for 2 years, right? It's kind of like being in the Illuminati, and you think they know, but they don't have a freaking clue.
No, of course not. And that's why, I mean, I'm personally really big on education, and that's what this podcast is for, right? We're just trying to arm consumers with as much knowledge as possible. I'm trying to learn as much as possible, just even so they can make decisions about things like creatine, protein, amino acid.
Exactly.
That still has a body of work to be done, let alone helping them
I don't
understand.
want to see. I want to save the kid that has saved $300, right, and walks into a store and walks out with a pre-workout, a protein, and a glutamine. And I just go, and I see it all the time, and like, good to the store. Is it the store's fault? Most of the time they've got no clue either. That's the thing. It's just like the stores these days are run by 18 to 20-year-olds, right, with great bodies, right, which is great, right?
Yeah.
But have they actually got a background in supplements or been in the game as long as other people have? And the answer is no. So the thing is, there's this major hurdle, and now with meta controlling ads and everything like that, it's not cheap to market something. It's really not.
No,
you know,
no.
the likes of Nexus and all that can do it because you know they turn over squillions. But if you're turning over squillions and you don't have, and you're chasing paper, why should you change? Whereas I come in it from a moral background. I refuse to sell protein powder. So what it comes down to, I really want to be the guy where they go, you know what, Greg has released a product and have enough of a credibility in the industry, which I think I do have, right? That because when I released the liposomal stuff and everything like that, some of the big boys in the industry said, glad to see you back, yada, yada, yada. And that was good, you know, because people know money comes and goes, and but at the end of the day, your reputation stays. Do you know what I mean?
Yep, absolutely. I think that's awesome, and I'm glad that some of those industry people do know that about yourself, and that's what I've been finding too. Anyone that I speak to about you is very, you know, positive and respectful about some of the things you've done, and I think you've helped push this industry in Australia to, you know, sort of a different level. So I think it's awesome that you're back, that you're doing something like this. That's really cool, and I can't wait to see what comes after. I've been really enjoying. I mean, it's very generous of you to send these for me to test out. I've got a little review cooking up on them.
I knew they're going to work. That's why.
I really love this sort of stuff. You know, I love liposomal delivery, and you know, for a lot of people at home, if they are watching this, I guess one good thing for them to know is there's only really two ways orally things get into the body. It's either through being water soluble or fat soluble.
You've done your research.
Yeah, and look, Dr. William Wallace, who's a great, I guess, Instagram resource that people might want to follow, has a really good explanation of this. But essentially, what liposomal does, if they don't already know, is it wraps each molecule in a little fat layer. And that allows it to be absorbed through the intestine that much easier. It allows a lot of things to be delivered into the bloodstream that would otherwise only have minimal bioavailability. So it helps sort of circumnavigate that issue. And that's why you've done the liposomal. So just in case.
100%. And if anyone wants to if anyone is listening, right, that is wanting to manufacture liposomal, contact me. I've got access to the facilities, and I'm happy to. Obviously, I'll take a portion of your sale.
Yeah, well, there's got to be some sort of business deal worked out. That's how business works,
transaction.
Right?
But what I'm saying is, if anyone wants to manufacture liposomal, I'm happy to accommodate them. It's as simple as that.
And I suppose, as you know, as far as I'm aware, all of these things at the moment are kosher. Liposomal it's good to go. I think it's one of those things that I can't see any regulatory issues. It certainly doesn't.
Well, that's what we chose it, Lloyd, because you can promote the delivery system, right? So you can say to people, you know, you're not dumb. You know what NR does, right?
Yeah.
But this is why you should choose us. It's because of bioavailability. It's because we can use less milligrams per payload. We can basically be absorbed by the body. You get more bang for buck. You get less wastage. And the take-home message is 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C when you buy it from your local place, and it could be Swiss, it could be whoever, but people chase high milligrams, right? But they don't understand bioavailability. So hate to shatter it to you, you might have scurvy because your 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C, you're only getting 50 milligrams, 50 to 100 milligrams tops out of 1,000 milligrams. So, and that's what a bastard vitamin C is to work with, unless you liposomal it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I remember things like resveratrol are a great example of that. It's very much only fat solubles, so it needs to be. People were mixing it in with their yogurt or having some fats with their pills, but this certainly solves that problem as well by giving
resveratrol. Lloyd, is 1% bioavailability. I kid you not.
Very low.
So I think they give it 1% to be on the map. You know, it's like the kid at school that really can't win in the race. So they go, look, we'll just throw you 1%, but it's really zero.
Showed up. It's in the sup. Yeah,
give them a certificate. You get a certificate. You get a certificate.
And they always spell your name wrong on those. Well, that's awesome, Greg. Well, look, I think we'll leave it there. We won't reveal too much. I'm sure you got a lot more cooking up on the horizon, and that's a good
Visit us at
introduction.
spawnnutra.com. We
Yep.
don't like to undercut our resellers because we really so we keep an above sale price, if that makes sense.
Yep.
And really,
I respect that. Yeah.
I don't want to be the guy that steals the sale from the guy. I want the guys that basically are on my team to profit as well.
Yep.
And as we release, we got new compounds. We've got a new product coming out as well called Always On for guys that are assisted or in the dark arts to upgrade their receptors, basically. So I'm a big believer of extremely low dosages, right? But keeping your receptors fresh. Do you know what I mean? Because some of the guys at my gym that are like 21 years of age and slamming thousands of milligrams, you know, it's just like you go, mate, there's a better way, you know?
Big time. Yeah. Less is more. I wish more people knew that. And that rings true for a lot of things. There's very few instances where more is more. But yeah, actually, I can't really think of any.
The analogy I use, Lloyd, is if you can get drunk on 3 beers, why drink 12?
Yeah. Why then turn it into poison? The whole dose makes the poison thing. It's it's a real sad thing to see, and I'm glad that you're trying to influence that in a positive way. So I'm excited for that, then, man. I really am excited to see what happens in the near future, and excited to have you back on sometime soon.
I'm glad to be back on. It's been 10 years since I did a podcast. So
really?
I appreciate.
You've got a lot of.
That was the old.
There's another leg to Greg. Yeah,
we'll
absolutely.
discuss that on a later occasion.
Definitely. I think that's a really cool story to go into.
People need to know about that because where we're moving to with digital ID, you never know. I might stage a comeback.
Absolutely, man. So no, well, look, thanks again for your time, man. And I look forward to our next one. And if anyone, like Greg said, Spawn Nutra, keep an eye out for it. We're bringing out, he's bringing out some epic liposomal delivery anti-aging supplements and a whole range of other things. We've got glutathione here, and so keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on the website. So what's the website again? It's
Spawn. So Spawn, who's my favorite Marvel character by far, because he defeated not only the devil but defeated God. Which makes him. You can debate me if you want. Follow me on Instagram, right? But Spawn is the most powerful character. He's also got a new movie coming out next year. So did I position Spawn? So look, to Todd McFarlane, love Spawn, but I'm not going to use your logos or anything like that, apart from the shirt I'm wearing now.
That's your personal purchase. So
personal purchase. SpawnNutra.com, guys.
Sounds good. Well, peace and love, Greg. We'll speak again soon, man. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
All the best.
See ya.
See you, mate.